So I went to Hunter College, and so that was, the best thing that I could have done. And by communication, I looked at TV and broadcasting, which was interesting, and I started taking classes in there and in that subject. So at that point, I knew that I wanted to work in TV. And I was working at a restaurant in the evening, so I was going to class in the morning, and then I was going to, work in the evening. And I worked in a high-end restaurant. I knew that a few of my customers were in the TV business, and there was one of them who was a reporter on the local news channel. So I went with my guts and I said, listen, I am at Hunter College. I'm studying film and broadcasting, and can I intern with you? And he was like, I do my own thing. I'm, not very organized within the company. I mean, he worked for New York One. I was like, yeah, but I follow you everywhere. Like, I'll do whatever. And he was like, okay, well, just come to my house in the morning, and we'll figure it out. So I started going to his house at 8 o'clock in the morning. So he was like, okay, so what do you want to know? What do you want to learn? I'm like, anything. Like, I didn't know anything. I had to log tapes. It was just the most boring job. But, I understood what video was. I understood, what was logging, which was, writing every single sign byte and saying, okay, well, this can work for a package. This can work for this. It can work for that. So I was there a lot. And then eventually they took me on their shoots, which was entertainment. So I learned a lot about how it was working. But I also, by talking to all these girls who were, just a few years older than me, it is who you know. It is who you know. So if you don't start doing the research on who you need to know in the industry that you want to work in young enough, you're going to miss out on that. Like, you really need to, to realize that hard work is very important, but also, like, going to the right people. Your parents' friends are in the industry that you want to work in, or maybe professor has been in that industry, and they're good people for you to know, because they're going to tell you what their experience has been or was or is, and they'll give you a good perspective. And people are willing to help. They're always willing to help. They're always interested in giving you advice. You have to look at what's around you and really make those connections really early on. But I remember specifically taking a class, actually a PR class, and the guy who was teaching was a guy who was working. He was just giving like a couple of classes in the evening. And that's what he was saying all the time. So I didn't really understand what he meant until I actually did it by talking to this reporter. One thing that happened during that class, one of the assignments was to pitch a newspaper in New York, like have like a little bit of an op-ed or something that mattered to you, and pitch it to the magazine or newspaper. I actually went directly to New York Times, and you know what? They published it. So then I realized, why just settle for small things? You can go for the top. And I was done with college, so I had that internship under my belt. So I knew at that point that I wanted to be in TV. That was like what I wanted. I liked current affairs, being international. I love international news. So I looked at 2 or 3 places that seemed to be right for me in terms of my interest. CNN was a place where they were covering a lot of international news, and CBS was next in terms of it is the Tiffany network. So the Edward Murrow and the entire history behind being being the first in telling the news was something that was very interesting to me. There was like a lot more to it than just being a TV station. So I went to actually the college job. I don't know exactly what it's called. I don't remember what it's called. The place where you find like information about possible
like
jobs.
Fair?
Career, not a career fair. It was like a career office,
Okay.
And so I went to that career center, and at the time, I'm aging myself here, but we didn't have internet the way it was, it is today. It was not like it was not accessible, but like you were not doing the same kind of search. So we actually had to go through little, note cards with names of people, and then you will write it down and say, okay, well, this is the person to reach out to at CBS, at CNN. I sent my resume to both places. As you just, said earlier, you don't get any answers from those regular outreach. So CBS was not far from where I lived, so I decided to bring my resume myself. I had the name of a person, and I said, can I give this to, Miss something? It was not a no, it was not a yes, it was like a dismissive, but I kept going, and eventually there was a lady that was there who is actually still there. She was like, well, this person is no longer here. And I said, well, can you tell me who I can give that to? And she actually gave me the name of the person who was in charge of the specific program at CBS, which is called the PAGE program. I called that person, left a message, and called again, left a message, called again, and eventually talked to someone. Like every week I would call, hey, is there anything opening? Is there anything opening? And after a couple of weeks or 3 weeks, maybe a little more than that, I don't remember the exact time, but he called, he said, oh, well, yes, actually I have something. Why don't you come in? Can you come in tomorrow? So I came in tomorrow. I was there the tomorrow. And I guess I annoyed him enough that eventually he said, okay, come in and meet the person who's in charge of the PAGE program. And he said, okay, well, let me introduce you to the assignment editor. The assignment editor of CBS News. And I was, oh my God, like I don't know anything. But it was so impressive for me to be in the studio where the evening news was being shot. And I gave the best I could give them in terms of like my passion for, broadcast news and current events and international affairs and politics and, all that. That they were like, okay, well, she might not know anything, but she wants to work. She wants it. So, a week later, I started. My experience as, looking and hiring people in the past few years is I get a resume and no one follows up. What is it going to be that is going to actually get my interest? Why am I going to pay attention to you? One resume, one time emailing me is not going to be enough. I mean, you might be lucky enough that actually this day I happen to open your email, but most likely not. You really have to, go above and beyond, follow up and study. Like, pay attention to what the company is about. What are they all about? There are many, many jobs out there, and especially for entry-level jobs. For a company, someone who comes into an entry level is a great asset because you're young, you have a lot of energy, hopefully you're hardworking, but they're going to be able to mold you to what they want in that company. And if you're good, people will hire you.